Hi, I'm Roger Timer, and welcome to Skill Builder DVD, How to Be an Effective Children's Ministry Director. And today I have a good friend, Jay Hostetler. Jay comes to us as a consultant in children's ministry, consulting thousands of churches actually around the country, and you have been in the business forever, I think, right? Something like that? A long time.
29 years.
In children's ministry, that, by the way, quantifies as forever.
Right.
Okay. So, Jay, after speaking to hundreds of churches, if you were speaking to someone who's a children's ministry director for the very first time, and you said the one thing that's most important to do, what would that be?
The one thing that I find that's really, really important, especially with new people, is the issue of spiritual preparation. I think that there's a lot of focus on how you do ministry, how you teach, or how you lead, but I found that spiritual preparation is really, really important.
Well, why is it so important? Well, what are people missing?
There's a couple things. One thing that's happening with kids today, as you know, is that with the needs that kids have today, kids come to church with different issues, and so just to have opportunity to be spiritually prepared to connect with them is really, really crucial. And I can share a story with you. Several years ago, we had an issue with a particular child who was a disciplinary problem, and in a team meeting, we were starting to chart how we were going to, quote unquote, deal with him. And as a result of that meeting, one of the people in the room who'd been working with kids for a long time raised the issue that maybe we should just take time out of the meeting and pray for that child.
What a concept.
Yeah, and it was great because what happened was, as a result of that, I saw the emotions and the relationship change with people who were working with that child, and saw some great results as we took the time to pray and prepare for that.
I know that in children's ministry it's oftentimes so chaotic, so overwhelming, so busy. And at times it seems like it just can't be done. At such times, isn't it a wonderful reminder that we have the power that will change the entire world? It'll change the life of a child. It's the power of the gospel. With a resource like that and faith that God will use it, how could we be discouraged?
Right.
Do you have, with your team of people in your children's ministry, do you have any special disciplines that you pursue with prayer? Or how do you pursue keeping the spiritual in focus instead of letting it just be secondary?
Great. There's a couple things there too. One of the things that we do in different areas of our children's ministry is we certainly have prayer times prior to our ministry opportunities. We find a few moments to get into a room and pray with teams. But something else that we have encouraged our leaders to do is when we're coming upon a particular ministry event or ministry experience that we really feel a special need to get close to God, we certainly would recommend that they take a time to perhaps fast during that week or just take some time aside to focus on their ministry for that week. So as to really put things in the right perspective there.
It's hard to slow down. One thing that I have found to be very helpful in my ministry is that at the beginning of every week, the first thing I do is write my prayer list. It's usually about 6 points about different ministry events coming up. That is my top priorities. And then something also personal. And something also spiritually that I want God to be working in me. And I email that to my prayer intercessor team. And I always make sure that on my prayer intercessor team is the senior pastor. So he's aware of my world and also can be interceding for me. And some of these prayer people are all over the country. And it is so encouraging when you hear them say, how did God answer that prayer? What happened? With that, big fall carnival or whatever it was.
Yeah, I remember once when I was leading a seminar about building teams, and I threw out as a possibility that maybe you should find a group of people to pray for you, to help you as you get into that part of your experience, finding people to work in ministry. And I remember the expressions on their face. It was almost as if, oh, duh. I mean, should we pray first before we start engaging people in ministry? So, yeah.
Well, we have an inside joke inside my denomination, and that is, how do we pray? We have a Bible study about it. So anyway, that first point is let's keep our spiritual perspective. Pray, pray, pray. Thank you, Jay. Let's talk about that in our groups. What question could some of the leaders watching this discuss right now that would help them understand how they can better clarify their spiritual priority and keep prayer at the top of the list?
I think one thing to do would be to certainly ask yourself the question, or do you feel as though you're in a spiritual place to minister effectively? And that might mean to take inventory on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Are you finding a quiet place? Are you finding those moments when you can prepare yourself to minister effectively to kids?
So let's do that at this time. In your small group, would you please discuss how your spiritual life is going? That's kind of a personal question, a little risky, but it's worth talking to your partners about. And do that for about 8 minutes or whatever suits you, and then come back to the next topic.